and welcome back to the Rogues of the Garage channel. We're here with day 5 of mail call. And today's mail call is a little bit light on envelopes. There are only 2 envelopes, though I believe from handling them there might be multiple cards. If you've been with me on this journey, you know that I am collecting specifically Outlaws of Thunder Junction cards. I like Westerns. And on Etsy, I found a card holder that I felt really fit in with the theme, and I'm going to unbox it with you today after we do our mail calls, after we look at which cards came in today. So I'm a bit excited about it. You'll see it for the first time the moment I see it, meaning the card holder. You'll see it for the first time the moment I see it for the first time. And if it's anything like is advertised on the Etsy shop, as all the reviews say, I think something I'm going to be very, very happy with. But first, let's get to the cards. All right. Well, this one does feel like it might just be a 1 card. No, wait, maybe. They top loaded. Nothing wrong with top loading. I just, it's not, oh yes, there are multiple cards here. So let's go with the first one. Akul the Unrepentant. 2 red, 2 black for 5/5. This appears to be the extended art version, or maybe, yeah, it appears to be extended art version. I do not think it's the borderless version, which is what I expected at first. Based on card number, I'm guessing it is simply the extended art version. But it's a 5/5 flyer with trample for 4. Granted, those 4, it's specific, got to be 2 red, it's got to be 2 black. But you get a 5/5 flyer with trample. Sacrifice 3 other creatures. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery and only once per turn. Again, I like that. I particularly like that with the idea of a deck with chump blockers or some type of cheap tokens, maybe, and you all of a sudden, I like this card in a deck with a lot of easy to obtain tokens. I think of a tricolored deck. I think something like the Murmuring Mystic. I think he's blue. And all of a sudden, for every sorcery or instant you cast, you get a 1/1, bird token, illusion bird token. I think it's something like that, where you could easily pump out a bunch of those tokens and then sacrifice 3 of them to bring in a much more powerful creature. So I really like that ability. Again, 5/5, flying and trample for 2 reds, 2 black. They're spoken for, right? You can't use colorless. But I really like that ability. And I think this is a card that can definitely see some action in red-black decks. Possibly if you throw in that blue or some other color that allows you to easily create some small low-level tokens. The other card in the sleeve is the Stoic Phoenix. 2 blue, 2 colors for a 5/3 flyer with flash. A Stoic Phoenix has hexproof as long as you haven't cast a spell this turn. So you're not going to be able to counter it as long as it is the only spell you cast this turn, which might be difficult, in fairness. You will most likely cast other spells, but the idea that it's a flash, I like that. 4 can be a bit expensive, but I like the element of surprise, the flash provides. So you get a 5/3 flyer for 2 blue, 2 colorless, the ability to surprise an opponent, particularly if they declare an attack, or maybe you go on the aggressive, they declare no blockers and you pop out the Stoic Phoenix. But I like that ability. I like that potential. I like that element of surprise with the Sphinx. I think it's pretty nice. Here is our last envelope for today, but again, I believe they're, from just handling the envelope, there are multiple cards in here. So get a few cards to talk about. Oh yes, this feels like there are multiple cards in this packet. Oh, falling out. So what do we got? The first card is the Desert. Again, this is from the special guest. Yeah, I believe that's what it's called. It's from the special guest for Outlaws of Thunder Junction, the Desert. You can tap it to add 1 colorless. It deals 1 damage to any attacking creature. Again, it's not a bad bad little card to have. What I really like here is the artwork. I like that this comes into play untapped. It feels like so many lands today that are not basic lands come to the battlefield tapped. This does not. It allows you to kind of have a built-in Tim, or what we would have called Tims back in the 90s, ping an opponent for 1 damage, which sometimes that might be the difference between killing one of their creatures or not. Right? It's that 1 extra point of damage. So being able to do that for a land that's going to be able to produce you 1 colorless every time. And again, the artwork. I really, really like the artwork here. So that's the desert. Moving on from desert to desertion. 2 blue, 3 colorless for a counter spell. If an artifact or creature spell is countered this way, put that card on the battlefield under your control instead. Oh, that's really nice. You know, looking at the cast cost initially, I thought this was a bit expensive. Well, how did this make special guest? Because I would assume that special guest are really nice cards, powerful cards in their own right. So my first thought was, how did this make the special guest list? And all of a sudden, I've actually finished reading the text of the card, and it makes sense. You can take control of an important piece of an opponent's engine. You might be able to take control of just a very basic, powerful creature. And again, the element of surprise. It's an instant. I really like that. And again, the artwork, I think the artwork's pretty cool in this. It looks like a man who's kind of lost his grip and is falling off the cliff. Desertion. Next, Morbid Opportunist. What I think is interesting is I believe there are multiple artistic versions of the Morbid Opportunist in Outlaws of Thunder Junction, but this one's 1 black, 2 colorless for a 1/3. Whenever 1 or more other creatures die, draw a card. So it allows some card draw. That's pretty nice. It's not that expensive. 1 black, 2 colorless. And I like the art. I really like the art. Notion Thief. 1 black, 1 blue, 2 colorless for a 3/1 with flash. So again, I mentioned earlier, I really like that flash ability. I like the concept that you could have a creature that you can cast like an instant, catch your opponents by surprise. If an opponent would draw a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, instead, that player skips that draw and you draw a card. So I think that could be handy. They're going to get their first card anyway, but if they were for some reason to get multiple, if they have abilities that give them multiple draws, those draws now belong to you. That could be, again, a very handy ability to possess. Next is the Port Razor. The Port Razor is 2 red, 3 colorless for a 4/4. Whenever Port Razor deals combat damage to a player, untap each creature you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Oh, that's nice. Port Razor can't attack a player it has already attacked this turn. So the Port Razor would have to attack a second opponent, which is fine. I can understand that. Otherwise, it becomes kind of an infinite win con, right? Because if it, in theory, now I could be wrong, but in theory, if it dealt damage to a player, well, if you came back for a second attack phase, if it did damage the first time, it's probably going to do damage the second time, right? And so it just becomes that infinite loop until you win. So I can understand putting that kind of limitation on this card. 2 red, 3 colorless for a 4/4 with that ability. It's pretty nice. Scape Shift. And ladies and gentlemen, I have talked over these mail calls about really being a fan of the art, and I gotta say, this is probably my favorite. You're talking about a 2 green, 2 colorless sorcery. Sacrifice any number of lands, search your library for up to that many land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Again, this is built for land recursion decks, I believe desert decks. But besides all that, let's just take a moment to appreciate that art. When I first saw this online, when I was ordering it, I was like, was this AI? Right? That was my first thought. Was this AI? And it's my understanding that Wizards doesn't really use a lot of AI for their art. They tend to use actual artists. So to Joseph Meehan, I believe is the name of the artist in it. Man, my hat's off to you, buddy, because that is beautiful. And we're back to the desert. So that concludes the mail call portion of today's video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier, I have been looking for a card carrier, right? A card holder as I collect these cards, as I get more and more cards associated with OTJ. And on Etsy, I came across this little shop in Arkansas, I believe. And this individual, I believe it's a gentleman, but do not know, works primarily with wood. In fact, I think almost exclusively with wood. And he creates boxes, and he had a Magic the Gathering card box on his storefront on Etsy. And also, on top of having a Magic the Gathering box on his storefront on Etsy, he had the ability to personalize these card boxes. These card boxes made out of wood. You could have them burned or laser engraved. And so that's what I did. I paid the money, paid the extra to have a card box, a Magic the Gathering card box, well, with a laser engraving on the inside of the box. And this should be it. And this is something that I am very happy, oh yes, to share with you. I am looking at this the first time that you were looking at this, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I'm opening it backwards. Oh, there we go. So that makes much more sense. I was like, wait a minute. I thought there were supposed to be Magic the Gathering symbols on the front of this. Ladies and gentlemen, this smells amazing, right? This smells of natural wood. As we open it up, you see the interior. Okay, see the interior. And then if I can adjust the camera, you can see on the interior, I have a couple of cross 6-shooters with the name of one of my favorite Deadlands characters I ever played. And you're like, what's Deadlands? Deadlands was a Western-themed role-playing game. I say was, it still is, but it's changed systems now. It doesn't use the original system, which I always thought was the best system it had, because it relied on a deck of cards. Again, if you're going to play a Western, why not have a system based on a deck of cards? But anyway, I had the 6-shooters. I had the character's name on there. I know you can't smell this, but the smell of the oils used on this thing, I'm very impressed. Very impressed. It lives up to the reviews I saw on Etsy. The thing that impressed me, and maybe I'm just clueless, but if we look at the backside here, like most things I would associate with manufacturing, we rely modern day times, and have for a long time really, on metal hinges. Well, you look at this, ladies and gentlemen, these are wooden hinges, right? Wooden hinges. The only metal, to my understanding, the only metal on this box is the magnets used for the latch system, right? There are a couple of magnets here. Oh, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, here. And if I bring this back down, you might see it here, right? That's it. The rest of this box is wood. You see here on the website, or on the Etsy storefront rather, it mentioned that it could hold, they estimate, up to 500 sleeved cards. This is where I'm going to be keeping my Magic the Gathering set. I am very happy. I'm very pleased with this. I thought it was a great investment, and sometimes you're disappointed when you purchase things, particularly Etsy. No offense to Etsy, it's become kind of my go-to for certain things, which I never, trust me, when I first heard of it, I thought it was a bit too kitsch, right? It's like little keychains and things of that nature. But maybe the site has changed, or maybe I just was a little bit too close-minded. But I tell you what, you can find some small business out there that do great work. And this, I'm thrilled with this. To share the name, I feel like only fair to share the name with a great job they did. They're simply known as the Laser Company. That's their name. They are the Laser Company. They are out of Arkansas. So I believe I was correct there. I believe I mentioned that they're out of Arkansas. If you're looking for a storage component for your cards, if you like the feel of wood, and the thing is, this is somewhat light, right? It is wood, and it is sturdy. Don't get me wrong. Like, I can feel this, but it's actually even lighter than I would have anticipated. And the wood oils, right? The oils are used to stain and all that thing. You can smell them. And I mean that in a positive way, by the way. There might be other people that don't like it. I like it. Like I said, I love this. And with that, we'll bring this to a close.